Welcome to Shaq's house. Shaq's house. That's our Shaq. You're now in Shaq's house. Shaq's house. Welcome to Shaq's house.
Hey yo, what's up? How you doing, Shaq Housers? It's your boy, Shaq House here. Hope your week is going well. Today, I got something of a fan favorite for you guys. Yeah, two ladies duking it out. Yeah, Peroxide Blonde against a Beverly Hills Mallrat. You guessed it, Boomer versus Jubilee. I've always wanted to examine these two and their similar personalities and their powers. So I hope you like this one. Sit back and enjoy the ride. And thank you for the suggestions that you made in my comments on my last video too, by the way. I'm taking them under advisement. Yeah, so Boomer and Jubilee. Jubilee and Boomer. Jubilation Lee, Tabitha Smith. Who am I going to start off with first? I know who. Put it to you like this, though. What do these three movies have in common? Eh? Going by the names Time Bomb, Boom Boom, and Boomer, Tabitha Smith possesses the mutant power to generate explosive energy. Originally, her power manifested itself as time bombs, tangible spherical energy constructs. Boomer could mentally select the size, detonation time limit, and the explosive power of the bomb upon creating it. Her bombs range from the size of marbles to beach balls, detonation times from 3 seconds to 10 seconds, and from firecracker pops to high-octane explosive discharges to duds, designed for manifestation to harmlessly dissipate. Over time, Boomer developed a more loosely packed form of her power, what she called plasma bombs. These bombs were less solid and more energy, exploding on contact instead of rebounding or rolling. She also adopted the use of wrist launchers to fire her time bombs over a greater distance than she could actually throw them. Upon changing her codename to Meltdown, however, she developed a much greater control over her bombs prior to detonation. She no longer required time limits. She could disperse any bomb at will, muffle the sound of the explosion, psionically levitate and direct her bombs in the air, and could create time bombs from a short distance away, whereas previously they manifested only in her hands. Her power signature greatly changed with further training, with her learning to control her explosive power after detonation as opposed to before. She now sets off explosions in her hands, and instead of an omnidirectional discharge, she focuses the explosive energy to release itself in controlled directions, creating streamers of destructive force. As it happens, Boomer is now capable of manifesting her power more like a force blast in addition to her time bombs. Jubilee. Jubilee's mutant power is to generate and control explosive energy as articulate, quasi-animate transitory plasmoids, or PAFs as she calls them. Her energy takes the form of randomly colored globules and streamers that resemble fireworks. Jubilee's power discharge also generates light, heat, and force, all of which she can modify. She can modify her light intensity to light up a room or temporarily blind her opponents. Her energy is explosive, as stated before, and when they impact, they give off heat and force to damage her chosen target, again varying at an intensity that she mentally determines. Although Jubilee can absorb her plasmoids back into her body without harm, her eyes are not immune to the effects of her power, and she typically wears large sunglasses to protect her vision. Jubilee can also use her power to detonate matter at a molecular level, atomizing targets and producing even more powerful explosions. This effect is created by her power projecting plasmoids that directly interact with the molecules of the object that they strike, spreading volatile instability so that the entire object explodes through a chain reaction along with the plasmoids. Jubilee was also implied to have certain telepathic potential, as psychic shields made her thoughts slippery and rendered her almost invisible to telepaths who didn't know precisely what to detect. After losing her powers on M-Day, Jubilee adopted the guise of Wandra and used a set of Wonder Gloves which simulated superhuman strength by negating gravity fields, and they also allowed her to lift between 30 and 40 tons, amplified and directed G-forces to give her an equally powerful force behind her punches. Later, Jubilee was transformed into a vampire and gained all the conventional attributes and weaknesses of vampires. Vulnerability to direct exposure to sunlight, garlic, silver, religious iconography, needing a regular diet of blood to stay active, superhuman levels of strength, speed, reflexes, virtually impervious to harm besides the typical vampire weaknesses, etc. She also demonstrated the ability to change into a cloud of intangible mist. Later on, when fellow mutant Quentin Quire used the Phoenix Force to bring her back to life, he also restored her mutant powers. Both of these ladies, they have similar wisecracking personalities and thieving skills to go along with their powers. Boomer, she's been trained by X Factor and Cable in both combat and espionage, but Jubilee, she's actually been a full-fledged X-Man, which she will tell to anybody who will listen. Also, look at their backgrounds. Jubilee was born in Beverly Hills to wealthy Chinese immigrants who were eventually gunned down, leaving her poor and living in a shopping mall and using her mutant powers to earn money. Eventually, she followed the X-Men, the female X-Men there, back to their home in Australia, and that's how she became hooked up with the team. Boomer, she grew up in a Virginia trailer park with an abusive father. Both Tabitha and Jubilee have the power to generate explosive energy, but they do it in different forms. Boomer's time bombs are basically solidified explosive energy until they explode. They can be thrown, picked up, rolled, bounced, etc. Jubilee's plasmoids that she generates are not actual flames, fireworks, or sparks, despite their appearances. What they are is the equivalent of a thin cellophane wrapper around an explosive core, which bursts upon contact, releasing the energy. Jubilee, she releases her plasmoids as a stream of multicolored poppers, sparklers, ribbons, starbursts, etc. Boomer's time bombs are just luminescent spheres. Jubilee's fireworks, they're unstable plasmoids that erupt with varying levels of light, heat, and force as they explode. Boomer's time bombs are basically temporarily stable plasmoids that will not detonate until their time cycle is up, a cycle which she herself determines. Also, while Tabitha's powers and control did increase considerably around the time that she became Meltdown, a lot of those new tricks that she displayed back then have been largely ignored ever since. That said, Tabitha, before her Meltdown days, she needed to create her bombs, her time bombs in her hands, and throw them like physical objects, or on occasion, launch them with her wrist shooters that she used as part of her second costume when she was a member of X-Force. After she became Meltdown, she demonstrated basic telekinetic control over her time bombs, enabling her to make the bombs hover in midair and fly towards targets with a thought. She also seemed to develop considerable range in terms of where she could manifest her bombs. Apart from knocking out the Blob by setting off explosions near his eardrums, there was also an occasion where X-Force invaded the SHIELD helicarrier, and Tabitha simultaneously detonated time bombs at various key locations across the entire surface of the helicarrier. Now, it is possible that Tabitha was flown around to these locations to plan her bombs in advance. I mean, the issue basically started with her triggering the detonations, but the apparent intent of the writer was that she created and detonated the bombs from a distance. Now, even though Tabitha's power was more expanded than Jubilee's, Jubilee has more potential. Both women are currently on Krakoa, and though Jubilee was reduced to being an adoptive mother for a human baby dragon named Shogo, and Tabitha is never seen without a bottle in her hand, they've recently teamed up with the Dazzler on some all-girl fun in the book Exterminators, trading barbs and combining powers. Look at this, for instance. Jubilee is charging all this glass up with her plasmoids and waiting for Boomer to create a time bomb that's going to create a really big explosion. They should do this more. I mean, Jubilee, we already saw what her potential could be when Sync first appeared in the Phalanx Covenant. Hell, that nigga used her power better than she ever could. Why can't the writers just do more something like that? That would be ill. That said, Jubilee over Boomer. Just saying. Alright, Shackhousers, that's what I got for this week. And now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do next week. It's going to involve the Dazzler. Talk in the comments what you think I'm going to do. Until then, stay tuned. Later.
Mansion, apartment.
Shack, house. Yes!